The issue of tax is an important conversation for all of us to have as a country. I will be signing on Wednesday tax reliefs that were proposed to us in the business amendment bill that is now on its way to my desk. This is specifically to provide relief for areas where we felt maybe business took a beating, so to speak, whether it is on our health issues or on our housing issues. Now, the people who are paying more because they earn more, they are going to have a relief, to enjoy a relief, which means we can take off some of the burden from them. Secondly, when you look at some of those interventions, well, let me speak about housing. I mean, the business community should be looking at what is housing doing. Housing means we do more steel. The steel companies should be looking at opportunity. 200,000 housing units every year means we consume more steel. It means we consume more cement, and that is the reality. It means we have more transporters. It means we are doing more business. We are driving the economy more. So I would want the private sector to look at the opportunities we are creating in some of the interventions we are rolling out, whether it is in housing or even in universal health coverage. We are importing 70 billion shillings worth of health commodities to Kenya. And I have given firm instructions to the Ministry of Health through KEMSA, not KEMSA, that any product we produce in Kenya, they get the first priority whenever we are procuring. And we had a meeting here with all our manufacturers of health commodities in Kenya, and that is the policy decision, and that is the law that we have given to KEMSA as we talk now. So, as we robustly invest in the health of our people, there is opportunities being created in health commodities. There is opportunities being created in other sectors. These are areas where we need to look at. Even as we provide relief for those who are contributing, we must also look on the flip side and look at the opportunities that these interventions bring. And I expect the private sector to take those opportunities, pick them up, and drive into investment and into opportunities for growing our economy. Let me also say the following, that the whole sector. Is there a problem with the mic? Maybe I can borrow yours. Let me borrow yours. The whole space around how are we spending our taxes? Are we being responsible about how we spend our taxes? That is very important to us. We are putting some of these investments in areas that are of necessity. Our education system was collapsing. We've had to enhance the budget to our education system because 23 of our 40 public universities were at the verge of bankruptcy. We had a shortage of 110,000 teachers. We were staring at a whole education, competence-based education system that was not adding up. We've had to put some money in the social sector. You understand how important that is, so that we can continuously generate the human capital that is useful to your companies and useful to our country. We have also had to look at areas of how we service our debt. Many people had given up on Kenya, and many people thought Kenya was going to go the route of other countries and that we were headed to a default. We've made sure that we have not only avoided a default, we are actually taking a new trajectory. Today, because of some of the interventions we have put in place, our inflation has significantly come down from 9.6 to 2.8. Our exchange rate has stabilized, and our interest rates are beginning to come down. You all know the central bank brought down the CBR by 75 basis points this month. Now we are at 11.25. So progressively, we are creating an environment where the private sector can have access to one of the most important things Betty said, that is access to capital. The more we crowd out by excessive borrowing by government, the more we create a situation where the private sector cannot access credit. Let me also say this finally. I've had to make the difficult decision that we haven't been able to make for the last 10 years, to think about our savings as a percentage of our GDP. I am very happy that today we have been able to make that decision. And what we were doing in the past, where all of us were contributing, 200 shillings to NSSF and all that, and we didn't have quite a clear mechanism of how we are going. Today, that has changed. We are now moving in a different trajectory, and we are creating a bigger pool of patient capital, of patient money, that now can progressively be available for us to manage our borrowing, our interest rate regime, and I'm sure going into the future, in the next couple of years, we will be in a better place than where we are today. But we've had to make those decisions now. And I decided that I am the guy who is going to make those decisions, however difficult they are. The tech space is a very important space to us. In fact, it is one space that I have really worked hard to make sure that the creative economy is built and is monetized. Many young people in that space did not have access to the monetization instruments. I had to negotiate with TikTok. I had to negotiate with Facebook. And today, Kenya is among the 4 countries where creatives in that space can actually be paid or can monetize that space. And the monetization of that space, some of those people in that space today earn 1 million shillings. You know that?
I do.
So the question we ask them is, a person earning 20,000 in Kenya or 30,000 pays tax. If you earn 1 million shillings, isn't it just correct that you contribute something to the tax kitty? And especially when we have enabled you to achieve that. I think that makes sense. At least to me, it makes sense. Because, and we have put enough threshold so that we don't tax the small guys. Number 2, we now have a startup bill in Parliament that will now provide a whole legislative framework for the growth of our startups. And in fact, the Kenya Innovation Agency is spearheading that effort. And to be able to give it impetus, that Kenya Innovation Agency was lost somewhere between the Ministry of Youth, the Ministry of ICT, because it had too many things it was doing. I decided last month that I will incubate that Kenya Innovation Agency in my office so that we can work better and provide an environment for the ICT ecosystem, starting with a startup bill, a startup fund, so that we can grow our small innovators into the M-Pesas, into the Microsofts of this world. So that is the space we are working on.
Your Excellency, you'll be very proud to know that when Honorable Sakaja was in Senate, this is when we worked on that bill, and we are looking forward that Parliament could speed it out. We really worked hard to get it out of Senate, and Honorable Sakaja was very instrumental.
I think it's now in the final stages in Parliament. There were some amendments that were carried out last week, and I'm confident that in the first quarter of next year, we should have a startups bill that will address all the concerns you have said about the digital ecosystem and the innovators in that space and how we will support them to experience the journey towards being serious companies. I agree, something has to change drastically, and it has to start with the manufacturers themselves. I'm sorry to say this. We must change the way we view manufacturing. Manufacturing cannot be importing everything from somewhere and then coming to paint it here and call it manufacture. Surely, that cannot be. There is a statement that was said by Betty, your chairman. He said, we have 5 containers. For every 5 containers that come from abroad, only one goes back with manufactured goods. That means, I don't know whether Kenya Association of Manufacturers or we register Kenya Association of Importers. Because we seem to be doing more importing than manufacturing. So we actually need to have a conversation on the subject of manufacturing. You know, I was very surprised that when we put a tariff on importation of clinker, there was a complaint by so many people. And then you ask yourself, I mean, surely, do we need to continue importing clinker when we can manufacture clinker in Kenya? President Trump has promised to put tariffs to support American manufacturing. Every country protects their manufacturing space. I was very surprised when we said, why do we have to continue importing sanitary pads? You know, it's a very delicate subject to discuss. When we can manufacture sanitary pads here in Kenya, surely. And the biggest people who are complaining, I don't know, let me not say who are complaining. I did expect our manufacturing entities to say, protect our manufacturing so that, and we are not protecting inefficiency. We are giving them space to grow, and they must be competitive. And we are not closing down, we are not providing incentives for one company or 2 or 3. It must be, there must be enough companies to compete so that we also get good quality products. So, Caro, if there is one thing we must sit and discuss, and I am prepared, is to engage our manufacturers in a conversation that is going to give me the opportunity to understand and to know what I need to do to make sure that we are manufacturing more in Kenya. I am ready for that conversation. And I am ready to make whatever decision that has to be made to promote locally produced products in Kenya. Because that is the way we are going to create, jobs. That is the way we are going to create wealth, as Anyang' Nyong'o said, if we use local products, local raw materials, whether it is for clinker, whether it's for steel, whether it is for leather, whether it is for textile, you know, because we are exporting a lot of textile products from Kenya. We're among the largest importers to the US. But unfortunately, we are importing cotton from elsewhere. And that is why I have a very robust plan and program we have rolled out on cotton manufacturing in Kenya. I am happy. I had a conversation with Professor Anyang' Nyong'o on what we are doing around the cotton space, the governor of Busia, the governor of Elgeyo Marakwet, and all the other cotton-producing counties, because it cannot be the case that we are importing even products that we have raw materials to produce in Kenya. Caro, I mean, it's just the right thing to do. And please, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, I am open. I'm ready to have the first meeting with the Kenya Association of Manufacturers in January. We can start the first meeting in January so that we can all agree how we are going to move things into the future. The supplement you have said is private sector. I run the public sector. Caro is the one. Why do we have bureaucracy in the private sector?
Thank you very much. So let's ask a sector question, then but it's true. I think we are learning bad manners about bureaucracies, and we need to show by example. And I think we'll start doing also self-regulation. We have the associations within. I mean, we have the hotel keepers who are our members here, and those are some of the questions we'll be taking to them to start doing self-regulation within their establishments, within the subsectors.
Very good. So those people in the hotel keepers, they're called what?
Hotel Keepers Association?
Yes, the association should answer that lady. Why Weston is not, has bureaucracy?
My name is Tom Oditi. I am founder, rather Gen Z founder. And I have a question regarding access to government procurement opportunities. So in our space, we've realized that for these opportunities, for you to get, as a young founder, it's very hard because you realize that it requires a lot of documentation. Specifically, okay, my biggest problem, let me say from my standpoint, is the requirement of financial documentations which maybe you don't have. And that has become really a big challenge to people in the SME space, specifically young founders. I don't know if it is something that is followed to the latter because many a times it becomes so competitive, and even for those that are marked AGPO, it's very hard for you to get. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Competition is the name of the game. You know, any procurement process need to have competitors. The reason why we ring fence certain items for AGPO, that is for young people, for women, and people living with disability, it doesn't mean that they automatically, a person automatically gets. There is still competition in there within that ecosystem. There will be more than one person, more than one young person competing. There will be more than one woman competing. There will be other people competing in that space. And of course, because standards have to be set, you have to meet the criteria for that procurement. Maybe the question you are asking me is the criteria too onerous for most young people to meet? That's a conversation we can have so that we can see if the criteria is too onerous, locking out almost all the intended beneficiaries. That is an exercise we can interrogate, and we have made it a policy decision as part of our contracting, performance contracting, to make sure that every accounting officer of a government entity must demonstrate how they have met the 30% procurement for ACBO, people living with disability, women and young people. But that is an exercise I am willing to interrogate more and to listen more to your views and your suggestions. I hope you are not blaming me for all those people who missed the opportunity to say something. Because I was here on time when I was asked to be here. I was asked to be here. And maybe I was told you are here from morning. You should have given them an opportunity to
Actually, we are here from morning, but because we wanted you to hear the story from the
okay,
history.
I will create another time,
and
especially
hear
to listen to
the
ancestors, the
yes.
people who...
You create that time and we'll do that.
The people who brought this together.
Yeah.
But let me say thank you to all of you for accommodating. I have another engagement with, I'm already running late, but it was really good to engage with the private sector, and I look forward to those meetings of where we can, engage and sort out problems so that we can allow our private sector to move on. Thank you very much, Trademark East Africa, for what you're doing, supporting the business space, and all the other partners, UNICEF, Nation Media. I am a great customer of the media.
That's
and the only unfair thing they do to me is that when they make money, they don't share with me. But I think they are doing a fantastic job in profiling all the good things that is being done, and sometimes all the bad things government does. So, but it is, I guess it is something that we have it's part of the systems of checks and balances, and we are all happy to be part of it. So thank you very much, and thank you for your time.